There is a silence in this room that feels deliberate. Not empty, not accidental, but held in place, as if even sound has been forced to stop. At the center of the space, a child lies motionless across a woman's lap, his body stretched without resistance, his arm falling loosely, his head tilted back in a position that no longer corrects itself. Nothing in him responds. Nothing in him returns. And yet, nothing in the room breaks. Lawrence Alma-Tadema's "The death of the Pharaoh's firstborn son" does not show death arriving. It does not show struggle or fear, or the moment of collapse. Instead, it isolates what remains after everything has already changed. The presence of death inside a space that was never meant to contain it. The woman at the center does not collapse under the weight in her arms. She remains upright, almost rigid, her body forming a vertical structure within the composition. Her face does not express shock or outward anguish. It withdraws as if recognition has been delayed, as if the mind resists confirming what the body already holds. Across her lap, the child's pale form contrasts sharply with the darker interior, immediately pulling the eye toward him before allowing it to move elsewhere. And the painting requires that movement, because just beside her, another woman leans forward, her body bending inward toward the child, her gesture more immediate, more physical. She presses closer, holding him not as something already gone, but as something that might still answer. Between them, grief divides. One contains it, the other searches within it. This division does not resolve. It spreads. To the left, a seated figure collapses into himself, his posture heavy, his arms hanging with a kind of exhaustion that suggests understanding rather than shock. He does not move toward the center. He does not attempt to intervene. He has already accepted the limit of action. Near him, objects remain carefully arranged, vessels, surfaces, details of a structured environment that continues to exist without disruption. Nothing has been overturned. Nothing has been disturbed. The order of the room remains intact, but its meaning no longer does. On the opposite side, another figure turns inward, his face hidden, pressed into his arm, refusing visibility. His grief does not enter the space. It withdraws from it, folding inward, separating itself from what is happening in front of him. And beyond these immediate figures, the room deepens. In the background, illuminated by low, flickering light, more figures appear. Attendants, observers, individuals moving slowly through the space with restrained gestures. Some stand still. Others shift subtly. None dominate. There is no central reaction, only distributed response. And this is where the painting reveals something crucial, because this is not simply a room of grief. This is the household of Pharaoh, the highest seat of power in Egypt, a space built to represent control over land, over people, over continuity itself, a place where authority is not only political, but divine. And yet, within this space, nothing can prevent what has happened. The child is not simply a son. He is the firstborn, the future of the throne, the continuation of lineage, the guarantee that power will extend beyond the present. And his death interrupts that continuity completely. The future is no longer secured. The idea of permanence collapses in a single body. And what makes this more unsettling is that the structure of power remains visible. The room is still intact. The hierarchy still exists. The attendants still move within their roles. But none of it functions. Power does not disappear. It becomes irrelevant. Lawrence Alma-Tadema does not dramatize this collapse. He does not show destruction or panic or rebellion. He allows the system to remain visible while removing its effectiveness. This choice reflects his broader artistic identity. He was known for his extraordinary reconstructions of ancient life, particularly Roman and Egyptian environments. His paintings often depict marble surfaces, architectural precision, and figures existing within spaces of calm, order, and refinement. He approached antiquity almost archaeologically, building scenes that felt reconstructed rather than imagined, where objects, surfaces, and environments carried as much importance as the figures within them. In works such as his Roman terrace scenes, life appears stable, continuous, almost untouched by disruption. But here that same control becomes the subject. The architecture remains, the objects remain, the composition remains, but stability does not. This is where his approach separates from other artists of his time. Jean-Léon Gérôme, working within similar historical themes, often presented scenes with theatrical clarity. His figures appear staged, almost as if placed for observation, allowing the viewer to remain outside the event, analyzing it from a distance. Eugène Delacroix approached similar subjects through movement and intensity, filling his compositions with unstable energy, where emotion dominates and the scene feels in motion. Lawrence removes both of these strategies. He removes spectacle, he removes movement, he removes emotional exaggeration, and in doing so, he removes distance. The viewer is no longer observing an event. The viewer is inside a condition. This becomes even more apparent in the treatment of the child's body. There is no visible wound, no mark of violence, no explanation for how death has occurred. It is simply present, and because it is unseen, it cannot be resisted. No figure in the room can respond to it directly, because there is nothing to confront. They can only exist around it. The lighting reinforces this limitation. Small sources of illumination create pockets of visibility, isolating certain figures while leaving others partially obscured. Faces emerge briefly, then recede into shadow. The room is visible but not fully readable, and this partial visibility mirrors the emotional state of the figures. No one fully understands. No one fully expresses. Grief is not unified. It is distributed, contained in stillness, expressed in proximity, hidden in withdrawal, maintained through quiet, controlled movement in the background. This fragmentation is not accidental. It reflects something deeply human. Loss does not produce a single reaction. It produces many, all at once, often conflicting, often unresolved. And Lawrence captures that multiplicity without forcing it into a single narrative. In the end, the death of the Pharaoh's firstborn son is not simply about a biblical event. It is about the moment when a system reveals its limits, when power remains visible but ceases to function, when structure continues but no longer protects, when a space built to guarantee continuity is confronted with interruption. The figures remain in place, the hierarchy remains in place, the room remains in place. But the meaning of all of it has shifted, and nothing in the painting attempts to restore it. Because some moments do not destroy systems, they expose them. And once exposed, they cannot return to what they were before. If this story stayed with you, please like and subscribe. There are more paintings out there carrying more secrets, and I'll keep bringing them to you, one by one.